Well, welcome everyone to the official kickoff of the Raising RI Coalition 2023 Legislative Priorities. Yeah! My name is Wayona Nelson Davies, and I'm the Executive Director of the Economic Progress Institute, EPI. EPI is a proud member of the Raising RI Coalition, a coalition of over 50 community, healthcare, social service, faith, and advocacy organizations with one goal in mind: to lift children and families out of deep poverty by improving the RR Works program. And that is why we're here today. Before we start, a couple of housekeeping. We want to continue this conversation online, so get your phones on and get ready to go on social media using the hashtag RaisingRI. So that is something we're hoping to do to talk about what we're going to see and witness here today. We also want to make sure people know that we have Spanish interpretation services. So anyone who needs it, we have Aurora back there who is here to provide those services for our guests. I would like to recognize some of our elected officials who are in the room today, starting with our bill sponsors. Senator Murray, I'm not seeing her, there she goes. Handy, thank you all for sponsoring the bill. We do have some co-sponsors in the room as well as other General Assembly members who are here to participate in this launch. And so I'm not going to get everyone who I'm going to try. I've been working on the list and I think I see people in the room. So we have Senator Acosta here. Senator Yuji Kusa here. Senator Salvalda here. We have Rep Morales, Rep Carvine, Bryce Speakman, Rep Caslack. I think those are all the people recognized. And we're going to make sure we recognize other people going forward, so please stay tuned. Before we get into our 2023 legislative priorities, I want us to take a moment to celebrate the improvements to the Rhode Island work programs we have been able to accomplish over the last few years. We get to celebrate the first increase in 30 years to 40% of the federal poverty level in the benefit amount families receive. Last year, the lifetime limit was extended from 48 months to 60 months. There was an increase in the earning disregard from $170 to $300. Parents are permitted to attend CCRI as a unit sole activity. Last year, state child tax credit was excluded from the benefit amount, which allowed many families receiving Rhode Island Works to benefit as well. So let's pause and celebrate those victories. And yet we are here today because there's still more left to be done. And what can we do to continue to lift children out of deep poverty? And you are curious, so I'm going to tell you what can be done. We have two bills sponsored by Senator Murray and Rep. Handy. Senate Bill 0227 and House Bill 5644. And they answer the question about what we can do. One, we can increase the Rhode Island Works monthly benefit to 50% of the federal poverty level and include a cost of living increase. Currently, at 40% of the federal poverty level, a family of 3 receives a maximum benefit of $721 a month. At 50% of the federal poverty level, that family will receive the maximum of $959 a month. And an annual cost of living adjustment would ensure that the value of the benefit continues year after year. 2, the bills will repeal the full family sanction. Sanctions right now hurt children. They penalize parents who are already facing barriers, and studies have shown that it does not improve program compliance. Welcome. We have legislators of the day from Pawtucket High Schools here who are joining us. 3, the bills will provide Rhode Island Works benefits earlier in pregnancy to allow low-income, first-time pregnant people living in poverty to get the support they need. This will improve child and maternal health and healthy birth outcomes. And finally, these bills will provide Rhode Island Work benefits to lawful permanent residents who have been barred by 5 years from benefiting from these programs, and it will eliminate that 5-year wait period. So those are what we are here fighting for this year. And during this launch, what we would like to do is not just talk about the bills, we also want to spend time learning about the stories behind these policies, learning about the Rhode Island Works program and how it actually works or does not work, and then understanding the impact on families. And we're going to go through that now. I'm going to turn it over to Jessica Verga, the Senior Policy Analyst at the Rhode Island Kids Count, to facilitate the sharing of some of the stories our families are going through in Rhode Island. Thank you all.
Thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone feeling today?
Good.
Good. We're ready to make some changes today?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. We're all motivated. Yes. Well, first, I want to thank Winona again for going over what we're fighting for today, the 4 bullet points. And also thank again both Representative Handy and Senator Murray for their leadership and and all of the co-sponsors. So my name is Jessica Vega. I'm the new Senior Policy Analyst at Rhode Island Kids Count, and my focus area of both education and economic well-being. And I want to provide some context around today's poverty simulation activity. So we've all experienced stress, right? The stress of work, the stress of having to take care of our children, the stress of having to go to school. However, not all of us experience the stressors that come from living in poverty. For example, not having enough to eat, not having a roof over our heads, access to childcare, or having a good livable job. And these are the reality that many of our families who are on the Rhode Island Works program are facing themselves. The poverty simulation is a way to have participants put themselves in the shoes of people living in poverty through different scenarios. However, I do want to say that this is a much scaled down version due to time. But what I love is how the founders framed the program. It's a way to shift the way we think about poverty as a personal failure and understanding poverty as a structural and failure of our society. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce each facilitator based from scenarios 1 through 4. But first, let's start off with our first scenario. It's going to be read by Senator Bridget Valvade and Bonnie Taylor, the Education Director from the Genesis Center.
Hi, everyone. So, scenario 1 is Hilda is a single mother with no job, income, or family nearby to support her or her 4-year-old son. Hilda and her son spend several nights couch surfing and occasionally spend nights in a homeless shelter. She has always wanted to be a CNA because she tends to be a nurturer, but doesn't have the required education and training and cannot afford childcare to attend classes. What should Hilda do?
Thank you so much, Senator, for participating.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Hilda can apply for the Rhode Island Works program. Rhode Island Works is a program administered by the Rhode Island Department of Human Services and funded through Federal Temporary Assistance for Needy Families block grant, the TANF block grant. And it helps extremely low-income families meet their basic needs by providing monthly cash assistance and a small yearly clothing allowance for children. Parents also receive training for work or job search and child care assistance. In December of 2021, there were 1,924 adults and 4,962 children under 18 enrolled in Rhode Island Works. 72% of Rhode Island Works beneficiaries were children, and 38% of the children enrolled in Rhode Island Works were under the age of 6. So this is a program for people like Hilda.
the sake of time, I'm going to read down each of the General Assembly members who are going to participate and the correspondent representative. So number 2 is going to be read by Senator Yuji Sufa, and the representative, Divya, from the policy analyst from the Economic Progress Institute. Scenario 3, is going to be read by Senator Acosta, and representative, and from the career advisor, community outreach coordinator from Equus Workforce Solutions, Nick Lendon. Scenario number 4 is going to be read by John Wesley and Representative Kay Slack, and the Director of the Policy and Advocacy Rhode Island Coalition Against Domestic Violence, John Wesley. And finally, Scenario 5 is going to be read by Representative June Speakman and Yolanda Macia from the Director of Operations from Conexión Latina. All right, let's keep it moving. So Scenario 2.
Crystal is a single mother of 2 young children and working odd jobs cleaning homes to care for her young family. There are often months when Crystal is unable to find steady employment and relies on cash assistance from RI Works to survive. She and her children receive the maximum monthly benefit of $721 per month, and she is grateful for the SNAP and WIC supports, which bring her monthly income to a total of $1,503. Each month, Crystal must pay necessary expenses like rent, $1,264, food, because the SNAP benefit doesn't cover all their needs, $841, transportation costs, $554, and other miscellaneous expenses like diapers, clothing, and household supplies, $407. She does not have to pay for health insurance or child care thanks to RI Works. This brings her total monthly expenses to $3,066. Each month, Crystal is in the negative, $1,563. Crystal is devastated every month and tries to decide what they must cut that month, and the situation is not getting any better. Inflation has caused the cost of essentials to go up. Over the past 6 months, a 200 pack of diapers was once $25, but has increased to $40 for a 168 pack of diapers. That's a 90% increase per diaper. How is Crystal going to keep up and provide for her family?
In 2021, the benefit was increased for the first time in 30 years, increasing the benefit from 30% to 40% of the federal poverty level. This was an improvement, but still left children living in extreme poverty, a circumstance that not only impacts their immediate health and well-being, but also their behavioral, educational, and social outcomes, and it has long-term consequences for their success in life. Because the law does not provide a cost of living increase, the value of this benefit is now only 38% of the poverty level in 2022. A family of 3 receives just $721 a month, an amount that's very hard to live on in good times and even more difficult with the current high inflation. Increasing the RI Works monthly benefit and adjusting annually to reflect 50% of the federal poverty level would lift children out of deep poverty and ensure that they do not slip farther behind every year as the poverty level increases and the benefit remains stagnant. Funds from the $96 million federal TANF block grant should be used to fund this initiative and protect the investment Rhode Island wisely made for years to come.
Autumn feels stuck in traffic. She's a single mother with 1 child. Her daughter has severe anxiety and often has panic attacks before school in the morning. She works part-time as a server in the restaurant industry and receives a small RI Works payment. She dreams of having a career that provides a more predictable income with growth opportunities. She and her daughter are RI Works recipients, and Autumn is receiving job training to help her gain the necessary skills for a higher-paying career. Since becoming a parent, Autumn has received RI Works on and off for the past 6 years, and during those years was sanctioned 3 times. This morning, her daughter has locked herself in her room, scared to come out and refusing to go to school. If she misses her job interview today, this will be her 4th sanction in the program. Autumn must be to her bus in 20 minutes. What should she do?
Rhode Island's original TANF program, the Family Independence Program, enacted in 1997, was crafted to ensure that children would always be supported and that parents were provided services to help them obtain jobs that paid a family-sustaining wage. Under FIP, sanctions for parents who did not comply with their employment plan or with other program rules only reduced the family benefits by the parents' share, so children would not be harmed. For example, when a parent was sanctioned, the monthly payment for a family of 3 was reduced from $721 to $584. Subsequent changes to the law required that after a sanction is applied 3 times during the 60-month lifetime time limit, the family receives assistance, the case is closed, and children stop receiving cash assistance. The 3 incidents do not need to be consecutive, so a parent might be sanctioned in 2015, then again in 2017, and in 2019. And the case would be closed after the next occurrence. The parent must reapply for assistance, and the family is not eligible for benefits until the month after a parent has participated in an employment plan. This leaves children without any assistance for at least 1 month and perhaps longer. National research has demonstrated that sanctions harm children. Sanctions fall disproportionately on parents who have significant barriers, including physical and mental health challenges, limited education, and domestic violence. Sanctions do not improve compliance. In addition, reopening cases is an administrative burden for the Rhode Island Department of Human Services. In this scenario, Autumn could establish that she has good cause and challenge the sanction. But if her case was closed, she would not be eligible to get back on Rhode Island Works for 2 months.
I love that we're talking about real people and stories. We as legislators learn from people's stories and need to hear them, and we as human beings really learn from stories. So I didn't know we were doing this today, and I'm really grateful and excited that we are. My person is Isabella, and she's 26 years old. She's a survivor of domestic violence. She was raised in a home where her father often emotionally and physically abused her mother, and as a young child, she promised herself that she would never live like this as an adult. Unfortunately, Isabella's partner has begun showing the signs of an abuser. Over time, he has isolated her from her family and friends, controlled her ability to work, and blocked her access to money. And last night he hit her when she told him that she was 3 months pregnant. Isabella must get out of this relationship. She does not want to raise her child in this type of household. But what can she do? She has no support network, no job, and no money without her abusive partner. John, what should she do?
Thank you, Rep. Kislak. Yeah, this is why RI Works is so important for survivors of domestic violence and sexual violence, including survivors that are served by the Coalition Against Domestic Violence here in Rhode Island and domestic violence agencies across the state. So in this case, RI Works can get survivors the cash assistance and services that they need to escape abusive relationships and rebuild their lives. National studies consistently show that participants experience higher rates of domestic violence than the general population. Access to cash assistance programs can help survivors build the financial stability necessary to leave abusive relationships and rebuild their lives. This can mean the difference between safety and continued violence for a survivor and their children. Under the current TANF and Rhode Island law, a first-time pregnant person is eligible to receive RI Works cash assistance once they reach their 3rd trimester. The same person is eligible for Medicaid coverage from the verification of pregnancy right away, because access to early prenatal care is vital to both child and maternal health. So providing cash assistance through RI Works early in the pregnancy would also promote child and maternal health. And 10 states, we know that 10 states, including Connecticut next door, provide TANF benefits upon verification of pregnancy right away. So state funds would be required for this much needed improvement.
Maya is a proud Rhode Island resident. 2 years ago, Maya moved to the United States with her 3 young children to flee violence in her home country and to provide her babies with better opportunities. She received no formal education in her home country and struggles to read and write. She was granted lawful permanent resident status, she is a green card holder, and is excited to become a citizen, but cannot apply for citizenship until being in the country for at least 5 years. Maya struggles to find employment because of her illiteracy and low English proficiency. Despite her best efforts, Maya's children are growing up in deep poverty. How can she help her children thrive and keep her hope for the American dream?
Good afternoon. Before 2007, Rhode Island provided cash assistance to lawful permanent residents. Following policy changes in 2008, LPRS only became eligible for Rhode Island Works once they had been in that status for 5 years. In other words, many children from immigrant families living in deep poverty remain in deep poverty for extended periods of time until they are able to access cash assistance and work support. Children in poverty, especially those who experience poverty in early childhood and for extended periods, are more likely to have physical and behavioral health challenges, experience hunger, experience difficulty in school, become teen parents, and earn less or be unemployed as adults. By providing Rhode Island Works benefits to LPR families, Rhode Island will join 13 other states in supporting the well-being of these residents sooner.
Thank you to all of our senators, representatives who participated in this poverty simulation. As I mentioned earlier, and I think it was Representative Caslack or Senator Caslack who said it, Representative best, even though this is a scaled down version of a poverty simulation, bless you, the stories that you heard today were real. They were produced by everyone who works directly with recipients from the Rhode Island Works program. So it's really important, and we thank you all and appreciate you all because there's so many competing events today, but you chose to be here to learn about the program and to make improvements for the program that has been a lifeline for many Rhode Island families. However, our goal is to continue to strive to make sure that we are uplifting all children in Rhode Island and making sure that everyone gets the resources and services that they need. So with that said, I have the pleasure of introducing one of the champions of this bill, Representative Arthur Handy. Please come on up.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for coming. And I'm really proud to be the sponsor of this legislation. I've been a sponsor for a couple of years now. Somebody earlier, I was trying to think about what kind of thing to say because I'm the 1 minute person right now, so I'm already eating into my time. But somebody said, "Well, what's your motivation? Why are you sponsoring the bill?" And it just seemed intuitive to me, sort of initially when I first thought about that. But then I feel like what I think I'm pretty good at getting into other people's shoes, and maybe that's part of it because I grew up with pretty poor parents. My parents were pretty poor, but they had a family safety net. Both my parents are deaf. For folks that don't know, I was born in 1967, so it's a time where deaf people definitely had very little access to sort of telephones, things like that weren't an option, things like that. So they didn't have much in terms of options for work. But again, if they needed money, if they needed help, they had family that was going to be able to be there for them. And I think what a lot of my colleagues sometimes think about is, well, I got through this or I got through that, but I urge us all to think about those stories you were just listening to. Many of those stories are somebody that doesn't have anybody they can go to, or the people they can go to, unfortunately, are in similar straits. So think of the worst scenario you've been in. or think of those scenarios and add in the worst scenario you've been in. And I think it starts maybe to crack through that misunderstanding, for lack of a better word for it, because we need to all be the family for each other. We need to all be that community for each other. We're all in this together. I used to use that phrase back when I first started here, and I have been here a long time, so I have seen that benefit not go up for most of the time that I've been in the assembly. And I thought when I first started 21 years ago that it was ridiculous how long it had been since we raised it then. So we're struggling still, and people are struggling. People are struggling, and we need to do what we can to help them, because again, we're all in this together. Thank you. Let me introduce my colleague from across the way, Senator Murray, who's the sponsor of the bill on the Senate side. Senator Murray.
Thank you so much, Representative Handy, and it's been a pleasure working with you on these bills for, I think we've been doing it for at least 3 years now, maybe longer. So as you all know and have heard, Rhode Island Works is the state cash assistance program for children and their parents or caregivers, including grandparents, and a work readiness program for adults. Increasing the Rhode Island Works benefit can break the cycle of poverty by providing parents with education and training opportunities that lead to well-paying, secure jobs and help end deep child poverty in our state. And you have also heard that this bill has 4 components. But for this moment, I want to address the following scenario to all of my General Assembly member colleagues. Most of us have full-time jobs in addition to our legislative duties. Many of us, like myself, have 2 or maybe even more part-time jobs. Some of us are lucky enough to have a partner that supports us. But imagine for a moment that you had only to live on your General Assembly stipend, and that is it. And now imagine having to raise a child on that stipend. How about 2 children? And you're probably thinking, well, that is not possible. And yet the current Rhode Island Works benefit for a family a family of 3 is a mere half of the stipend that we receive for serving the legislature. 38% of the poverty level. And unlike Rhode Island Works families, we get a cost of living increase. 2 years ago, we made a historic increase to this program, the first in 30 years, and I'm very grateful to you all that supported that, and I'm grateful for leadership on both sides for supporting that in the budget. However, because we did not include a cost of living adjustment for these vulnerable families, much of that progress has been wiped out by inflation. This year's bill protects Rhode Island families from deep poverty and the effects of inflation by increasing the benefit and adding a built-in cost of living adjustment that would follow increases in the federal poverty level. Without a cost of living increase adjustment, the current benefit and our investment that we've made will continue to lose value. The bill also promotes child and maternal health by providing benefits to pregnant folks from the onset of pregnancy. Right now, if you are pregnant, you must wait 7 months to qualify for benefits. 7 months without that extra support to pay for doctor's visits, buy healthy food, buy clothing that fits, access to prenatal care, and all the things that ensure a healthy pregnancy and birth. For those of you that are familiar with our state's maternal and child mortality and health outcomes, you all know that they are not great. Healthy pregnancies better ensure healthy births, healthy babies and children, and healthy families. This bill also undoes harm to our children by eliminating the full family sanction, which falls disproportionately on parents who have significant barriers. There are parents that experience physical and mental health challenges, have limited education, or experience domestic violence that may prevent them from program compliance. Full family sanction due to non-compliance hurts the children of these parents by no fault of their own. And finally, this bill supports the well-being of immigrant families by eliminating the 5-year waiting period for legal permanent residents in the program, a waiting period that was not originally included and was only introduced in 2008. So to sum up, protects Rhode Island children and family from deep poverty and its effects. It promotes child maternal health. It undoes harm to children, and it supports the well-being of our immigrant families. And again, to my General Assembly colleagues, we have talked a lot about workforce development coming out of this pandemic and how to use all of these funds. and expanding and creating programs that enable folks, especially women, to get back to work. Rhode Island Works is a workforce development program. It is literally in the name. We can give these parents the ability to become future childcare workers, medical workers, and other essential workers that we desperately need right now. Get them off of assistance and obtain and put them on a path to a better life. Rhode Island Works deserves to be funded just like any other workforce development program that we have funded in the last 2 years. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank my coalition partners, my partners in the General Assembly for being guinea pigs up here. And a special shout out to Linda Katz, who is my Rhode Island Works mentor. She got me hooked my very first year in the Senate, and I have put in a bill ever since. So thank you all so much.
Thank you again, Representative Candy and Senator Melissa Murray. And I also want to acknowledge, earlier I saw Senator Quesada, Senator Sandra Cano, and Representative Sherry Cruz from Pawtucket. Up next, I want to introduce Courtney Nicolato, President and CEO from the United Way of Rhode Island, who have been an active participant with the Raising Our Eye Coalition. Kyle Bennett is also here, who's part of the coalition and always has really great and wonderful, insightful things to say. So welcome, Courtney, and thank you for being here.
Good afternoon. Hilda, Crystal, Autumn, Isabella, and Maya. We just heard their stories. When I heard their stories, I thought, wow, they are rock star moms who would protect their children at any cost. Any of us who are moms or dads know that we would do the exact same thing. And so we need to support these rock star moms who are being so really resourceful and figuring out every stone that they need to turn. They're turning. But the system is not giving them what they need so that they can strive to be better, to be stronger, and to be healthier. A couple of numbers that I think reiterate what you've heard today. 71,959. That's how many people have called our 211 program for food assistance in the last year. 40,032. That is how many Rhode Islanders have called us for utility assistance in the last year. And 84,194. That is how many Rhode Islanders who are on the brink of homelessness or in homelessness and have called 211. This is not just a small group. It's not even just the 5 incredible moms you heard today. It is thousands upon thousands of Rhode Islanders that we have to do better. Far too many Rhode Island families are living on the edge of financial crisis or are in financial crisis. They need and deserve to have a safe place to call home, to put food on the table. We are committed to finding a better way at the United Way, and you're here because you share in that commitment. Families need more time to settle into their jobs, to meet the upfront expenses for going to work, uniforms, tools, equipment, and paying past due bills. Wow, it's like really just a thing today, okay. That they may have accrued while they were unable to work. It is apparent we have to do better to support Rhode Islanders who struggle to pay for even their basic needs. More than 1 out of 3 Rhode Islanders spend more than 30% of their income just for the roof over their head. When more financial resources are spent on housing, food, childcare, we know that there's a significant shortage that needs to be met. You heard, and I want to reiterate, the Rhode Island Works program is an important component of a larger economic development strategy to strengthen Rhode Island's economy. This isn't just to support, even though these families deserve it, this supports everyone. When more families have access to workforce programs, Rhode Island benefits. Each and every one of us benefits. When more families have access to childcare, each and every one of us benefits. Our financial crisis crosses income and generational lines. People are making minimum wage and sacrificing medicine instead They're making the decisions, medicine or food, or feed their children or themselves. These are the types of decisions that are being made. We also know that we are pushing young professionals out of our state. We want them to stay. We want them here for the long term. The benefits and what we've done and this coalition, who is unbelievably inspiring, and we're proud to be a part of it. That said, we have more to do. And inflation in and itself has changed the game. Each of our neighbors deserve to have the tools that they need to thrive. So let's improve access, let's eliminate barriers, let's make Rhode Island the very best place to live, because it is the best place to live. So I look forward to working with the coalition. I thank all the legislators for your advocacy and your commitment and sharing your stories on why this bill is so important to you, because it's going to take all of us to continue the momentum, and United Way is proud to support. Thanks so much.
Now I have the pleasure of introducing Renelli Espinosa. I had the opportunity to meet her last week. She is a parent and also an active member of Progreso Latino Adult Action Committee, and she's here to share her story as being a parent and also a recipient of the Rhode Island Works program. So, Renelli? Sorry.
Hi everyone, my name is Renelli Espinosa, and I want to thank everyone for having me here and giving me the opportunity to share my story. Being pregnant and having a 2-year-old daughter at the age of 24 can make life difficult, especially for a single mom. During that time period of life, I had to overcome a lot of challenges, but thanks to cash assistance, it created a safety net for me and my children. Being able to afford food, clothes, and other necessities was very difficult without cash assistance. I had to rely on churches and the Salvation Army just to get by with our supplies. My 2-year-old daughter at the time would feel sad and depressed that we couldn't afford new clothes, and it would break my heart. Sometimes I would feel as it was my fault and that I failed as a mom. I also didn't have a job because I was pregnant, and at the time had a daughter, and having to hire a babysitter was not in my budget. During that time period, without cash assistance, we had to overcome.
It's okay.
Doing great. Many negative emotions that have scared me. Till today, I hope that no person has to overcome the same issues I did, and that cash assistance is there just like it saved me. When I finally received the cash assistance, it seemed like some heavy weight was finally lifted off my shoulders. I was able to provide food necessities for my daughters and new baby. We also received RIPTA passes, so I had the opportunity to take my daughter to the parks and beaches and other favorite spots. This was a safety net for me and my family, and it gave me a peace of mind. Eventually, through the program, I also received help in completing my resumes and found a job that worked with my schedule. This brought financial stability into my family's life. I was finally able to provide for my 2 children, and I was going to give my children the life that they deserve. I only hope that we would receive cash assistance a lot sooner. Thank you everyone for allowing me to share.
Thank you, Renelli, again for sharing your powerful story. We really do appreciate you being here, and I can't imagine everything that you went through, but you are such a strong person that you're still standing here today as a strong woman, a strong mother, and a strong advocate. So thank you. And thank you, Jonathan, for being here and supporting her. Last but not least, I want to introduce our fearless leader, the new executive director of Rhode Island Kids Count, Paige Kloss of Plashes Park. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Thank you again, Renelli, for sharing your story. You have not failed as a mother, not at all. You are powerful. You are an amazing example to your daughter. And thank you for sharing your story and your strength with each of us. So thank you. Senate Bill 227 and House Bill 5644, championed by Senator Murray and Representative Handy, can keep Rhode Island moving towards the goal of ending deep child poverty in Rhode Island. As you've heard, children in poverty, especially those who experience poverty in early childhood or for extended periods of time, are more likely to have many negative outcomes in their lives. So why are we letting our children stay in deep poverty? Why? Especially when we have federal dollars that we can utilize. TANF, the federal block grant you've heard about, can be used to increase the monthly benefit amount and add a cost of living adjustment. And TANF can be used for any financial consequences to ending full family sanctions. Total expenditures for our cash assistance in Rhode Island, including the federal and state funds, decreased by 85% between 1996, when the program began, and 2021. In 2020, Rhode Island spent only 14% of its TANF funds on cash assistance. This is significantly lower than the national share of 22%. Here's another question. Why are we making immigrant children and families wait 5 years? It's like sentencing our own children to trauma and sentencing them to years of long-term challenges. Instead, let's prevent the trauma that's associated with poverty by lifting our immigrant kids out of poverty. We used to do this, and it's time to go back to that again. The same is true for our first-time pregnant parents. By providing supports earlier, we can promote child and maternal health. And as you see in one of these charts here, Rhode Island has disinvested our state dollars in Rhode Island Works. In state fiscal year 2021, for the 12th year in a row, no state general revenue was allocated for cash assistance. State general revenue spending for cash assistance decreased steadily between 1996 and 2010, and the program is now entirely funded by the federal TANF block grant. It is past time that we put our money where our mouths are and truly support our families and children using our state general revenue. It's not just the federal government's job to take care of our kids. It's our job, too. The Rhode Island Works program is intended to serve as a safety net for Rhode Island children and families, but there are too many holes in our net. Over the past few years, we have improved this program, but more changes, these changes you heard about today, are needed to help our children and families. So I will close by saying a series of really important thank yous. So thank you to all of you for coming to this event. Thank you to the Raising Rhode Island Coalition, the 50-plus organizations who identified these 4 improvements as the critical improvements that we need to make for the program. And to thank United Way of Rhode Island for sponsoring this event. And thank you to the Right from the Start campaign partners for your advocacy on this issue. Thank you, Senator Murray, Representative Handy, for your leadership in championing Rhode Island Works for all these years. And thank you to our community members and the members of the General Assembly who wrote our case scenarios today. Thank you so much for participating in this event. It's time for us to do the work now. Let's improve Rhode Island Works so it truly does work for all of our kids and families. Thank you.